A lot of times I wonder to myself what success really is, because the answer to that question changes over time. When I was a kid, I wanted success in the way that I wanted money and things and cool cars. At one time, I actually owned a Ford Mustang, which was the highlight of my automobile life, but it came at a very young age. And as a lot of you know who follow me on YouTube, I have a Dodge Caravan now, which is the opposite of a Ford Mustang. The only way it could be more opposite is if I was driving a Volkswagen Vanagon. By the way, that's what we had when I was a kid. I'd actually like to have that. But the definition for success revolved around material things. What I had in my possession, how big the house was, how much land you had. But in November 2006, that changed quite a bit. My twins were born. My twins weren't born in a fantastic fashion like you would imagine. Not a special day where the baby arrives and everyone's happy. It was a difficult time. My twins were 2.5 months early. They were born in distress. My son's lungs weren't fully developed, and in fact, during the process of staying in the NICU and then the transitional unit at New Hanover Regional Medical Center, my son's lung collapsed. There was a whole lot of issues. I remember going into the NICU and seeing all the little tiny babies, some of them that weighed only 1 pound, some of them that were full size but had issues. I remember walking by the incubator for one of the babies. Every single baby had a heart monitor on, and this particular baby had a heartbeat of 225. I still think sometimes I wonder if that baby made it or where they're at. The reason why I mention these stories is because it puts a perspective on things. The things you once wanted become irrelevant. Now imagine if you're the father or mother of that baby that's struggling for life, or even my children for a short period of time. We had a lot of doubts about would they fully develop, would they have long-term issues, and there wasn't a thing I wouldn't trade to make sure that they were safe and healthy. And I sort of realized that's all I really wanted out of life. I just want them to be healthy and happy. We don't have to be rich. It would help if we weren't poor, and we're still working on that all these years later. But we don't have to be rich. We don't have to have a lot of nice stuff because you can't take it with you when you're gone. We just want to be content. I want to be able to spend time with them. Today I was at a softball tournament watching my daughter play. 2 games. 0 wins and 2 losses, but she did great, and it was a good day. That's all you can really ask for. When you get to the end of the day and you look around and see a bunch of material things, it doesn't mean anything. The family you built means something, whether it be blood family, a brotherhood like our HVAC community, or any other family that care for each other. That's all you can really ask for in this life. My name is Zach Ciota, and this is The Tradesman. Welcome to episode 7 of The Tradesman. You heard the intro. I told the story of when my twins were born. We're going to be talking to Brent Ridley this week. And the reason why I told that story is because he has experienced some of those same emotions in his life because his daughter has special needs. And there's a certain bond people like me and him have to each other because we understand what we've gone through to a certain degree. Now, his daughter doesn't have the same conditions that my children have. We're going to talk a little bit about his daughter in the actual interview. But there's a camaraderie because we understand what kind of perspective your life has once you experience a special needs child or just children in general. Because once you have children, you tend to change your outlook on life. Like I was talking about in the intro, how you might want material things and all of a sudden you bring a life into the world and it really changes how you look at things because literally you have created life where there was none. So your new boat doesn't look quite as impressive. A shiny car doesn't mean quite as much. And even in business, you start thinking about it. What do we do? Personally, we're talking about tradesmen here. So we have guys that are plumbing, electrical, carpentry, all sorts of people out there. But myself, I've always been an HVAC tech. So when you look at it in its rudimentary form, I am the AC repair guy. No matter how well I dress it up, no matter what tools I carry out there, whether it be the mighty zoom lock, the mighty eye manifold. I'm still just an AC repairman. And no matter where I go, I'll probably end up at some single wide trailer with a unit from 1950. Just a tradesman. Nothing more, nothing less. Not that that's a bad thing. But once you experience these other parts of life, it puts it in perspective. I can't even imagine what it would have been like to meet me when I was 18 or 19 working in the trade, because I would have been a complete idiot. Drinking, smoking, doing all sorts of idiotic things, my head around backwards. Once I turned 23 years old, started having children, started having a family, everything switched around. And I think it happens to a lot of guys. I can't imagine what it's like to have no children, because that's really when my life turned. So I don't know how that happens if you don't have any children at all. Little deep on this episode. Let's get into talking with Brent. He's going to tell us about his life, running the new business, dealing with issues at home, and how he gets it done. And now, even with a new podcast, he's added to his load intentionally. Let's meet the must-be insane Brent Ridley.
Sporlan, creating products that provide solutions so that your air conditioning and refrigeration needs are not only met, but exceeded. Offer the highest quality products, innovative solutions, and unparalleled support in the market.
Jackson Systems is your leading provider for HVAC controls, with products like our award-winning zoning solutions that completely eliminate the need for bypass dampers, our filter fetch service that pays you while homeowners get the filters they need, thermostats imprinted with your logo, complete home and business automation with connected thermostats, cameras, and intelligent Wi-Fi solutions from Nest, Ecobee, Honeywell, Google, and more. Visit us at jacksonsystems.com to see the products that continue to win industry acclaim among contractors across the country. Jackson Systems, controls done right.
Let's start out with, we're working in Hilton Head, and then you went up to team up with your father. Why did you do that after all these years of working in Hilton Head?
Lived in Hilton Head in Savannah area since I was maybe 12 or 13 years old. I moved down there with my mom. We actually moved down to the Savannah area. After I started doing HVAC for a little while, I realized that Hilton Head was a little bit better of a community. It was kind of a fluent community. So the companies up there paid more money. So I wanted to go work for them where I could make a little bit more money. So I went to work up there to a company in Hilton Head, worked with them for almost 5 years before I came up to North Georgia. And it was a great company I worked for down there. Wonderful company. I can't say anything bad about them. Great people, great company. My dad's owned a plumbing company up here in North Georgia coming area for about 23 years. Probably going on 26 now. It was 23 when I came up here. I never wanted to be a plumber. Didn't like plumbing. He's always been after me to come work with him. Just couldn't relate to plumbing. I don't like it. It's just not as technical, I guess. So I enjoy the technical side of things. So I had my license since 2010, my air conditioning license, that is. Finally talked to him. He says, well, come up here. We'll open up an air conditioning branch, and we'll do both. We thought about it, me and my wife, and I had 2 young kids. They were very young at the time. I knew it was a golden opportunity. You don't have those kind of opportunities on a silver platter like that for you very often. So I knew it'd be stupid not to take it. That's been about 3 years now, and it's been a fantastic journey. The company went from making $400,000. Now we're at $1.2 million gross.
Wow.
We've been growing pretty big. We had my dad and a helper when I first came up here, and now we have my father, and we have 3 plumbers, and then I also have myself on the HVAC side, and I just hired another HVAC technician 2 weeks ago. Growing quite substantially, and I'm excited about the future of what the company is going to do.
So 3 years, business ownership. Let's start with that. What have you learned in the first 3 years? Mistakes that you've made? At times, do you want to go back to Hilton Head and go work for somebody else? What are your general feelings after 3 years?
I forgot what a day off is. That's not a practical thing anymore. Just hired another technician, but especially with me running the HVAC side of things by myself, there was no downtime. Weekends, evenings, whatever. I was on call for 3 years straight now. And I've been catching anything and everything that comes in because I wanted to grow that business and I wanted to grow it as fast as possible and as efficiently as possible. So any call that came in, I wouldn't turn down. I'd go get it whatever time of night, whatever time of day. It's obviously paid off now to where I got some help. I think he's going to turn out good. I've tried to hire some help before and that didn't work out good. And that's another thing I've learned, that good help is very hard to find.
So after 3 years, you found a guy that you like. Things are going well. Every moment of your time is spoken for. So to solve that problem, you've acquired another hobby of podcasting.
Exactly. Why not just try to squeeze every little bit of time out of the day when we can. This podcasting thing's been fantastic. It's really cool. It's something I've really gotten into, and I like it a lot.
Absolutely. On a side note, guys, Brent is a co-host of Tool Pros, a brand new podcast. Just had a great episode on combustion analyzers I listened to a little bit earlier today. They have 2 episodes out. A third one will come out, I'm sure, in the next week or so. Very successful so far. I got to peek at your numbers. They look pretty good for a first week of a podcast.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. We there were some nice download numbers, but we could always have more. So if you haven't downloaded the Tool Pros podcast, go do it. We got another episode coming out next Wednesday or so, Tuesday, Wednesday-ish. It's going to be on tool bags and tool organization. We're going to have Andrew Greaves on as a host or co-host.
Oh, the comedian himself. That's fantastic. Another side note, if you haven't listened to A.K. Greaves and HVAC comedy, you have to check it out because you'll be rolling from the true-to-life comedy that he brings to the table. The late-working Mickey Mouse comedy sketch had me rolling. It was fantastic. Probably already seen it before, about 3 times.
Especially if you have kids, so you can really relate to the whole Mickey Mouse skit and what he's talking about. It was fantastic, man.
We have a lot of hobbies now. You and I both podcast. We both have children. We both have special needs children. So we're going to come around to there, and we're not going to get upset or emotional. I get emotional at it too, actually. So, and by 2, I mean it could be just me. We have children, small children. Yours are smaller than mine. You have special needs children or child. I have special needs children, plural, autism. How do you deal with that while running a business? Because it's very difficult. And now we're podcasters too. So I feel like I have a little empathy for you. But how do you deal with it on a daily basis? And what goes into dealing with it? Because I'm not very familiar with your child's special needs.
I have a daughter. She's 3 years old now. She was born with a genetic disorder called Noonan syndrome. That's Noonan. Noonan syndrome. They call it the most common genetic syndrome that you've never heard of. That's exactly what they say. They got the shirts out and stuff. There's varying degrees of it. They can have it their whole life and not know it. But my daughter's got a more of the severe case of it. She's had several issues going on with it. Ever since she was born, she had some issues feeding. She's never been able to eat correctly. We've had a tube feed her since she was an infant, and she's still tube fed to this day. She eats a little bit, and we're working on that, and she's getting a lot better. She goes to therapy once a week for that, so she's doing pretty good. The whole eating thing, that's a Noonan syndrome trait. She had pulmonary valve stenosis with her heart. When she was 1.5 years old, she had open heart surgery. That's another trait of the Noonan syndrome. The PVS is what they call it, pulmonary valve stenosis. So they went in there and fixed that. That was one of the scariest days of my life when my daughter had heart surgery.
I've seen the board behind you while you're doing hangouts and the list of the schedules. It's impressive in the way that there's so much stuff going on. We have a little bit of stuff like that here, but I think you got me beat. I feel bad because it's a difficult situation to be in.
It's opened my eyes up to another world that I've never seen before and never knew about. I never had much interaction with special needs folks or any special needs people, and now I have so much empathy in my heart for anybody who goes through that. It's such a learning experience, and it's made me grow as an individual so much by having her. And she's taught me more than anybody could ever teach me in just these 3 years of her life. She recently had a spinal cord surgery too. Earlier this year in May, she had what was called a tethered spinal cord, basically where your spinal cord kind of connects before it's supposed to, like as far as the bottom of the spinal cord. So they had to go in and fix her spinal cord, and that was a scary deal. We spent a week in the hospital with that too. But she's bounced back from all of that good stuff. She's been a trooper. She runs around kicking and screaming. She's got an older brother who's 4. She's 3 and her brother's 4. So she's pushing and punching and kicking him and all kind of stuff, just like siblings do. So I'm very happy for that. We still got a long road ahead of us. She's got a lot of other issues that we still got to take care of. Like Zach said, we got a bulletin board kind of type thing. It's a dry erase board that I keep in the kitchen, actually, because that's only the best place to put it. We write the doctor's appointments and write when they are and write what we got going on, the doctor's phone number and all that good stuff. My wife doesn't work, so she can handle that stuff, because I don't know that my wife could work. She'd be taking off every day to go do something with my daughter. So it just couldn't happen. I got to be the sole provider. So that means I got to work twice as hard.
Well, that's an intense amount of pressure, and I understand what you mean. I understand completely what you mean, because you're under pressure now to provide. You're under pressure to be available for your children, as every father should be. How do you reconcile that? You're a business owner now. Are your business goals more geared toward wealth accumulation or just finding time later where someone's working for you so you don't have to work? That would be my goal, I think. How are you planning to do that if that's the case?
Well, a little bit of both. Isn't that what everybody wants in life? They want to make money and not work hard.
I do want a stack of cash as well, and I would like to
Exactly.
stay in my room and get it.
My goal here, I don't want to have a Brian Orr type deal. I don't want to have 50 trucks. More power to him. He's a fantastic businessman. He can control that. I'm not near the businessman that he is. I struggle with what we have right now. So I couldn't even imagine trying to do with something like that. So my goal is to have a few more trucks on the road to the point where they can handle most of the load by themselves. Maybe one or two office staff that mediates and dispatches and takes care of all that good stuff. That way, when I need to, I can be off. If I need to be in the office, I can be in the office kind of thing.
I don't know how old your father is, but if he decides to retire, are you going to control the entire company? Are you going to split it up? Or are you going to bring in more relatives? What are you going to do?
No more relatives. That's the worst idea I could ever have.
I know it's bad. When it came out of my mouth, it was just almost facetious because I worked with my father and brother for a decade or more, and it was not always good.
Me and my father, we work out great because he does his thing and I do my thing. He does plumbing and I do HVAC. We're totally separate. So we don't step on each other's toes. He has no idea how to diagnose an air conditioning unit or a furnace. I have no idea how to lay out plumbing in a full basement remodel. There's a little give here, and it makes it nice. It's kind of a good relationship that way. When he wants to retire, maybe one day, I don't think he's going to retire. I think he'll probably fall over dead before he quits, to be honest with you.
Right.
He's just that kind of guy, man. He works himself to the bone. He still does. He's 59 years old. He's still out there sweating his ass off every day, just like the rest of us.
He's pretty young then. At 59, my dad's 70 now. I kind of assumed your dad was older too.
He's a pretty young man, relatively speaking, and still out there working. But do I want to take over the whole company? Yeah. I have my plumbing license. I went out and got it for that specific reason. Do I see myself going out doing plumbing calls that much? No. We got a good group of plumbers that work for us. If he wanted to retire, I'd want to try to keep those guys handy or find some guys that I can rely on for that plumbing side.
I don't blame you. When I hear about plumbing and I think about the backdrop, we talked about family. Let's take, for example, my son. My son's autistic. He has trouble dealing with social situations. So in some ways, I think I'm probably autistic too. But he really does. And I can't imagine you come home from work, you have dinner, the kids are screaming. There's something happened today. He had a problem at school. He's screaming and screaming. Then the call comes in at 9 o'clock that somebody's toilet backed up and you have to go out there and fix that. I think I'd find the nearest bridge. So I don't know how someone would deal with that. I think I'd just go outside and sit in the truck and just stay there.
Yeah, you're exactly right. That's the plumbing trade is a whole different animal, and I got major respect for those guys.
Why do I wear gloves, right? Why do I wear gloves?
That's it.
Many years from now, you'll have the entire company. What would you like to see in 10 or 20 years? You said you don't want to be a huge company like Brian, but in some ways you are like Brian. He works with his fathers, but it's separated out into two separate areas. Eventually, you're going to control both areas. What do you see happening after that time period occurs?
Maybe a little bit bigger than we are now. We're plumbing heavy right now. I'd like to see us go HVAC heavy. Let the plumbing kind of slide off a little bit because that's just me personally. But, but whatever brings in the dollars, if the plumbing calls come in, that's what we're going to go do. I could see it adding a few more HVAC trucks and I'd be happy, 2-3 more trucks and I would be a happy man. Don't have the desire to be a huge company at all.
How many Ford Transit Connects would you like to add?
0, sir. The answer is 0. I'm not a fan of the Transit Connect. And actually, I had the full-size Transit, that's Transit 250. And that thing is a big, giant pile of poo also.
I saw, and the reason why I asked Brent about this is because I followed him in all of his woes over the last several months. And the vehicle, I believe, has 60,000 or so miles, and it's had how many issues?
Oh, man, it's probably been in the shop 7-8 times at least, 60,000 miles on it, and probably 5 of those happened within the last 10,000 miles of it. It's actually gone to one of the plumbers now. Did I get to worry about that headache? I got a Ford E350 because we have a E250 van in the fleet, and that thing has been a tank. It's been the best one in the whole fleet. I wanted to go with something that would be reliable. Now, I did have to give up a few of the comfort features. Like my new truck doesn't have any power locks, doesn't have any power windows. My old truck had power locks, power windows, cruise control, all that stuff. I don't have any of that stuff on the new one. I got an E350 with the KUV body on the back. And that's what I wanted, was the KUV body and the E-Series front end. So I got the reliability of the E-Series, then I got the accessibility of the KUV on the back.
I don't blame you. I had an E150. I actually had two E150s, and both of them had 250,000 miles on them. Whenever they finally died enough that we had to get rid of them, I drive an F350 that is parked in the yard right now. Has a couple problems, but it's also been through the mills, 200,000 miles on it as well.
Or to get it correct with the Transits, but I had the 2015. That was the very first year they started making them with the full size. Been a headache since, but I'm sure they'll get it right. The one I had wasn't correct.
Well, let me go back to your company one more time. So we're talking about 10 or 20 years from now. Do you ever see yourself, you take over for your father, 5 years go by, and keeping in mind you're 15, 20 years older, say you're in your 50s. Do you ever see yourself just selling the company and heading off somewhere and starting over or doing anything like that?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, man. I think about that all the time. If other opportunities arise themselves and I can make more money doing something else, or something else intrigues me more to where I would be more interested in doing it day to day and I can make a good living, absolutely. I'm not tied to it by any means, but something else that I would be involved in would definitely have to be HVAC related.
You talk about podcasting now. Why did you start podcasting?
I've always loved tools and stuff. I've been beta testing tools for some of the tool companies for a long time. I've done tool reviews for HVACtalk.com. I've done all kind of stuff with tools for years now. So I'm excited to bring that to other people, and that's what the Tool Pros podcast will do. It'll bring it to other folks, giving them insight on what a little bit of my knowledge, a little bit of what Billy has also, and try to spread the word a little bit.
Now, I've listened to the first real podcast introduction, then you had an actual podcast on actual tools, which was the combustion analyzers. I don't know a whole lot about combustion analyzers. I had to test every 20. It was great. A lot. I have the FireRite Insight Plus. I've used it a total of 0 times so far. What kind of tool, just to build up some buzz for your podcast, what kind of tool conversations are coming up? What big tool we all be talking about next? Something new.
We're going to do tool bags next with Andrew Greaves because he's so good with the tool organization and whatnot. But then we're going to talk about the fill piece job link probes here shortly. I got those. I've been beta testing those for about a month now. They're awesome. You guys who are on the fence about your Testo Smart probes, if you're sick of the short wireless range, the fill piece got it figured out. The range is awesome on it. We're going to do power tools. Been in talks with Milwaukee, so hopefully we can work something out with them. Any and every tool that you can think of, we're going to try to hit eventually down the road, and not just HVAC tools. We want to do electrical tools, plumbing tools, carpentry tools, any tools that are out there. We want to hit them, and that way we got many, many, many episodes to come.
That'll be really interesting because if you can go beyond the trades, you can go pretty much anywhere you want. You say Brent and Billy. Let me say this right. I've only said the guy's name wrong for like 3 years. Noth.
Now you see,
Noth, right? It's Billy Noth.
Okay, I'm his co-host and I call him Billy Noth, and Billy has never corrected me. So I'm going to have to bring this up on our next podcast, whether it's Billy Noth or Billy Noth. But if I've been calling him wrong as my co-host for the last several episodes, I would feel so terrible.
Well, I've been calling him Noth ever since I knew the guy. And if he's Noth, he never said anything. It's like someone calling me Zach Pasoda. I'll say, nah, that's wrong. But he never said anything. So to me, he'll always be Billy Noth.
Yeah, I think it's been that way for so long, whether it's right or wrong, I think it's going to stick.
Well, how about the partnership so far? Because to a certain degree, you guys knew each other before, but now you're working together in close quarters. How's it gone so far?
Oh, it's been great. It's been great. Billy's been top notch with everything. He's from New York, so he brings to the table a different skill set than I do as far as the trades go. He's a good sheet metal mechanic. He's a good oil-fired furnace guy. Those are things that I haven't seen. I'm a heat pump guy down here. I personally haven't done a whole lot of metal duct work, been a flex runner and stuff like that. So it's good contrasting styles, and I think it works well together.
I'm going to go ahead and issue an open challenge for Billy to please come on this show. I'm going to put it out there. Billy Noth or Billy Noth, whoever wants to come on the show, you have your invitation. We're going to have a great talk in your podcast. We'll quadruple in size. All you have to do is show up. I'm just going to say that. I still want to have him on the show. I've been looking very much forward to that, and I'm going to put a little pressure on him by doing it released on air. Now
it's been said publicly, so he can't hide.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. We will be happy to push his podcast to the nth degree if only he were to show up here. That's all we're going to ask. So, but Brent, let's touch on your daughter's condition, Noonan syndrome. Do you know where people can find out about it? Because people will probably want to research this a little bit. They hear something, you know how people are. I'm going to go look it up on Google. What would you suggest they do? And can they follow along with your daughters? Because I know there's a Facebook page.
My daughter's got her own Facebook page that my wife updates and everything for the family and for anybody who follows us, family and friends. It's called Harper Strong, and that's HAPER, Harper Strong on Facebook. If you want to look up anything, look up the Noonan Syndrome Awareness Foundation. They're a great foundation. We try to support them as much as we can. That would be where I'd look up to find as much information as you want to about Noonan syndrome if you're interested in it.
A lot of people are out there that have kids that have issues, and I think it's nice if we learn about it, because we learn about it, people will help bring awareness to it, and then we get issues resolved. Medicines get produced, and people get better because of that.
There's no cure to Noonan syndrome, but there is treatment. If we put awareness out there, we get more people aware of it. It means we can get more funding for new research. We can figure out better treatment for some of these symptoms that she does have and try to move forward.
For over 60 years, Southwire has provided high-quality electrical wire and cable to the commercial and industrial construction industries. Now, the name you trust provides durable, cutting-edge, professional-grade tools designed with safety and productivity in mind. Southwire's tools are backed with a no-hassle lifetime warranty. Thank you for listening to episode 7 of The Tradesman. I want to put an offer out to you guys out there in the field. If you have a story to tell, whether it be exceptional, heart-wrenching, what have you, and you want to come on and talk about it, shoot me an email at Zachary Cioda, that's ZACHARYPSIODA @gmail.com. Let me know what your story is, and I'll bring you on and we'll talk about it. Because I think our average, everyday tradesman, just like myself, only difference is I get a big microphone and a couple guys actually listen. We have stories to tell. And it'll illuminate all of us. And it will help us all. Because we are a brotherhood, whether we choose to believe that or not, we are. And I think telling these stories helps us all out. So guys, if you got one to tell, shoot me an email and let me know.